Hello viewers, and welcome to yet another live-action commentated match of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest. My name is Mitch, and I am the Hive Tyrant. Today I'm pleased to present a video sent in courtesy of Alexander Chimadon. On the left side of our table we have a gentleman named Per Engstrøm, playing as Zarathur High Sorcerer of the Chaos faction, and on the right side of the table we have Victor Edstrøm, who's playing as Packmaster Kith of the Dark Eldar. We can see that our initiative token resides in the possession of our player to the left, and in assessing our opening layout of planets, planet number 1 is going to be Taurus, which rewards you for keeping your unit count lower than that of your opponent in the form of 3 resources or 3 cards. Planet number 2 is going to be Iridial, which heals 1 unit of any and all points of damage. Planet number 3 is going to be Barless, which triggers a random card discard. Planet number 4 is Planum, which allows you to move a non-warlord unit, and planet number 5 is going to be Elowith, which allows you to peek at the top 3 cards of your deck, add one of those cards to your hand, and put the remaining 2 on the bottom of your deck in the order of your choice. We already see a fair few deploy actions having taken place. We see a Cabalite Strike Force at planet number 1. They're a 2/2 for 2 with area effect 1 and no associated command icon, and especially important because our initiative token is in the possession of our Zarathur player, we see a Bloodied Reavers put out to planet number 1, which is also a 2/2 with a command icon with the added clause that it gets a +2 attack value bonus if it happens to be present at a planet where a warlord also resides. A Slith Mercenary is also played out by Zarathur at planet number 3. It's going to be 2 command icons to conveniently trump the 1 command icon afforded by that rogue trader. And another neutral unit, we see a Void Pirate at planet number 4 for Kith, so go figure, it looks like Kith is playing the economy game, as we see a Kith's Chimera touchdown on planet number 2. That's going to be a 1/2 with 1 command icon Dude, as well as a 2/1 creature token. Yet another Slith Mercenary is put into play at planet number 2, which is potentially going to allow yet another planet to fall prey to our Chaos players' economic stranglehold here. So, how are things going to break down? Kith still has 3 resources. That's enough to purchase either copy of those Slith Mercenaries. And in regard to where exactly players would want to send their warlord, I am at a bit of a loss. It looks as though our first 3 planets are green, strong point icon planets. Indeed, our first 4 planets are, so we could see a relatively quick game. Maybe Kith will do something like play a little bit of a longer match. Maybe she'll just try to send herself to a planet like Barless, where she can do that nice, appealing random card discard and trump that Slith Mercenary and be able to claw it into oblivion. But let's see here. Both of our players are deciding where exactly they want to send their units. I can imagine that Kith will allow planet number 1 to go by, but let's see here. That's going to be, so I guess Zarathur doesn't go to planet number 1, but it is looking as though that Taurus is going to be able to be activated by Zarathur, because Zarathur has 5 units relative to Packmaster Kith's 6, so that kind of sucks. We see a superiority that's going to end up shutting off one of the Bloodied Reavers, I suppose, at planet number 1, so that's going to mean no cards, no resources there for Zarathur at planet 1, so decent play of superiority, I suppose, though investing a card and a resource just to block off your opponent basically lets you achieve parity. But in any case, that's going to be 1 card, 1 at planet number 2 for Zarathur. Planet number 3 is going to be 2 cards and a resource for Kith. And planet number 4 is going to be 1 card, 1 resource for Zarathur with that +1 card bonus of the Void Pirate nicely shut down. But Elowith is going to afford Kith the opportunity to draw 2 cards. So what exactly are we going to see in regard to combats? Why, we're going to see a combat at planet number 1 and planet number 3 and planet number 4. So as we steel ourselves for all sorts of death and destruction, that's going to be the Cabalite Strike Force and the Bloodied Reavers bouncing away from that planet. And what exactly are we going to see? Are we going to see Taurus generate cards or resource tokens? Choose carefully. That's going to be 3 resource tokens, and that's going to be a bit of a setback for Packmaster Kith, considering that resource choke, considering card strangling. You never really want to see your opponent activate Taurus, but at least it was once, and now it's done. So all the same, Combat erupts at planet number 3. That's going to be a Chimera token taking a swing at that Slith Mercenary, and it is going to be destroyed. No shield cards today, and that's going to be Barless doing a random card discard. So let's see, that's going to be a copy of Warp Storm, ladies and gentlemen, that could have potentially been integral to expunge a chosen planet of Chimera tokens and other, low HP value Dark Eldar units. So, bit of shame to see that go, especially since our Chaos player just reeled in 3 additional resources with which to pay for that effect. But that's going to be Zarathur blowing up that Void Pirate there. That is now officially dead. And that's going to be Planum sending a Kabalite Strike Force to be positioned at our new planet number 1. So congratulations to Zarathur there for winning planet number 1. That's going to be 1 green, 1 red material type icon and a strong point icon. But HQ phase comes and goes. New 5th planet's going to be Karnath. It triggers the battle ability of any other planet in play, so it could be to heal, to move a non-warlord unit, to do a random card discard, or to scry at the top 3 cards of your deck. Zarathur has a Bloodied Reavers in his HQ, a potentially 5 attack value unit, or a potentially 4 attack value unit that can nevertheless strike 4/5 is a pretty dangerous threat, but entering combat exhausted is never any good, so perhaps Zarathur will end up sending himself to Barless to try to set up a victory at that planet. That is going to be his victory condition if he continues this sweep here, but what exactly can Kith do to block off the opposition here? Why, we could see a Chimera Den result in the timely redistribution of a bunch of Chimeras. Kith currently possesses our initiative token, so if Kith goes to planet number 1, she could try to kill off that Kabalite Strike Force before it can do area effect 1 and kill off a bunch of her units. This Zarathur deck is actually catered pretty spectacularly to fighting a Dark Eldar player, just because Kabalite Strike Force, guess what? Area effect 1 kills Chimera tokens. Warp Storm kills Chimera tokens, as do so many other Chaos effects. But we see, let's see, that's a copy of Rogue Trader put out to planet number 5. And I believe I missed that Rogue Trader being put out to planet number 2 by Kith. So, what are we going to see? Zarathur still has a mighty 8 resources. That's enough to fund a Black Legion Helldrake, but I certainly can't recommend playing that enormously expensive elite unit considering his opposition. We see an Altansar Ranger put into play at planet number 5. Very curious inclusion for contemporary Kith here. That's going to be a 2/2 with ranged, and that is going to be a Cacophonic Choir played by Zarathur. So Zarathur is exhausted, but that's going to be 1 indirect damage assigned. I think it's indirect damage, but anyway, it's going to be 1 damage per unit Kith controls, distributed among her units as, I believe, indirect damage, however he would choose. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 total damage. And considering that all except for, 2 of those units only have 1 hit point, that is going to be a hell of a lot of damage. I'm not sure if Cacophonic Choir actually counts a player's Warlord, but I suppose we can figure that out in just one moment. So each of those units are going to end up taking damage. And I guess that's going to be 1 point of damage for Kith as well. So how exactly do we want to distribute these points of damage here? So many powerful Eldar units are in jeopardy of being destroyed. If that Incubus Warrior ends up killed at planet number 4, that's going to be 2 fewer cards coming in for Kith. And then if something like a Kith's Chimera Masters ends up being killed at planet number 3, that's going to be some lost damage. We can already see that that Kith's Chimera Masters at planet number 1 is definitely in danger of being destroyed, and then this makes it all the more likely that Zarathur's going to be able to win at planet number 1. Zarathur's definitely now in a compromised position since he's exhausted. Kith could take a bunch of damage, but then she's much more likely to be bloodied herself. I guess there must be no Chimera Den in hand, seeing as how we're seeing token after token after token being all kinds of eradicated from the board, and it's now looking very good for our Zarathur player to win at planet number 1. There's not really any healing we can benefit from in going to Iridial, but where exactly is Kith going to go? Kith has got 4 hit points remaining, and now it's going to be up to Zarathur to go presumably to Barless, but then everything will be showing up exhausted. But if Kith goes to Barless, if Kith God, having a, potentially 5 damage dealing unit's going to be really dangerous, so Kith may not want to send herself to that planet. That Cabalite Strike Force and the Slith Mercenary is certainly going to be able to do enough to punish Kith, and considering the wealth of resources that Zarathur is still sitting on there, that could definitely be more than enough to make sure that Kith doesn't purchase control of those mercenaries. And note, we really didn't see anything in the form of shield cards at all in response to that cacophonic choir, so maybe Kith is just holding on to all of those. Looks as though we see a Gleeful Plague Beast put out to Barlas, and that is going to be fantastic. It's going to allow Zarathur to tie command relative to that Rogue Trader, and man, oh man, during combat, that's going to pop off. That's going to deal 1 point of damage to that unit. If Kith goes to that planet, that's going to be 1 point of damage to that lone Chimera token, and I suppose all I can say is that there's a very good reason that these players are playing with the playmats that they are. These are for the Nordic Championships. I believe it was the top 8 that got these mats, maybe the top 16, but my heart tells me top 8, and if you'll notice, those are some pretty fancy command dials that these players are playing with as well. So it looks as though Zarathur's ending up going to planet number 3, which is very interesting, and Zarathur goes to planet number 3, and Kith does as well. So let's see if Kith is going to generate a token. I can't imagine that there's any reason why she would not. There we are. And that's going to be 1 card at the first planet for Zarathur. Planet number 2 is going to be neither of our players getting any kind of income whatsoever. Planet number 3 is going to be 1 card, 1 resource for Kith. Planet number 4 is going to be 2 cards for Kith. Planet number 5 is going to be 1 card, 1 resource for Kith, and Kith trumping that +1 resource bonus. So definitely things are looking up for Kith in regard to how this command phase went. Note that the initiative token does happen to be in Kith's possession during the command phase. If she wanted, she could purchase control of that Slith Mercenary, take a swing at that Cabalite Strike Force, potentially kill it off, potentially steal that planet, and then use Iridial to cleanse a couple points of damage off of Kith there. So what exactly are we going to see? Okay, looks as though Kith didn't decide to do it, so that's going to be Iridial, basically just captured. That's going to be the Gleeful Plague Beast killing that Rogue Trader, and that's going to be the Cabalite Strike Force and Slith Mercenaries entering the HQ there. So now it's going to be up to Kith to try to block off a victory here, unless I'm misremembering my planet type icons. Iridial is a 3-icon planet, and spoiler alert, I'm not misremembering. Barlas is going to be a green strongpoint icon. That's going to be the victory condition of Kith there, and I don't call myself an expert player by any means, but I still think it may have been in Kith's best interest to really try to push that first planet, but it looks as though we actually see a copy of Archon's Terror discarded, so for all I know, looks like Zarathur could have won planet number 1 in any case, but looks as though Kith's Chimera Master is going to end up taking a point of damage. Kith still has her 2 points of damage. Zarathur is now situated at 4 HP remaining, as is Packmaster Kith, and no, I guess that's going to be another couple points of damage onto Zarathur there, so that Bloodied Reavers, if it gets a chance to swing, it's going to be able to wreck Kith, and certainly put her in jeopardy of being bloodied, unless she has a 2 shield icon card. No, she must not, because Kith retreats, and that means that Kith maintains initiative, but that's going to be the Chimera token and the Chimera Masters left. So let's hope for Zarathur's sake we've got at least 2 1-shield icon cards to prevent Zarathur from being bloodied. Kith had to choose whether or not to retreat first, and there we go. We see both of those units retreat, so I guess there must be not much left in the way of shield cards for Zarathur. And Kith is going to have the opportunity to relocate one of her units should she want to do so, but the problem is all of these units have 1 hit point left. Looks like we're going to see the Altansar Rangers repositioned, which is going to be fine because they're a 2/2 ranged unit, but they've got 1 hit point worth of damage already. And that means that when that Gleeful Plague Beast procs its ability, you're going to have to use a shield card, otherwise that Altansar Ranger was sent to certain death, so that's going to be one of Kith's shield cards all tied up, and that's going to be potentially 2 resources in a card, 1 by Zarathur there. So pretty interesting. Our HQ phase occurs. That's going to be 4 resources and 2 cards for both players. New planet number 5 is going to be Farron, the route a target non-warlord unit, route a target non-warlord unit planet. And this could well be the very last round of the game, so let's see, how is it gonna break down? The initiative token is in Zarathur's hand. All Zarathur has to do is go to planet number 1, and if Zarathur shows up to planet number 1, Gleeful Plague Beast is going to be 2 points of damage to each and every opposing enemy unit. And that is going to be a hell of a lot of damage, and that means that a 2-shield icon card is going to need to be spent just to keep that Altenstar Rangers alive long enough to get off a attack. Zarathur's Flamers touch down on planet number 1. They're going to be attacking for 3 thanks to Zarathur. They're going to be able to be sacrificed for 3 thanks to Zarathur. And that combo makes an incredibly nasty sequence of events there. But Kith certainly has a wealth of resources, and what exactly can she spend on those? Packmaster Kith isn't big on durable units. I was going to say the Warlock Destructor is probably the hardiest thing that Kith can bring to bear, but between the Gleeful Plague Beast, between Zarathur's Flamers, between Archon's Terror, Tzeentch's Firestorm, the list goes on, there are innumerable other Chaos and Dark Eldar ally effects that could remove the unit from that planet, and with each additional resource token Kith spends, then it becomes all the less likely that she'll be able to fortify that planet sufficiently. So it looks as though that's a copy of Shadowfield affixed to the Altensar Rangers. That is a very curious choice indeed. That means that units with cost 2 or lower cannot hurt that unit, but that's a 2-shield icon card played as an attachment. That's 2 valuable resources. And the Gleeful Plague Beast is going to end up killing that unit because last time I checked, cost of 5 is ever so slightly higher than 2. So is Kith just delaying the inevitable or what? Let's think hard here. That's another Warlock Destructor put out to this planet. Zarathur's Flamers might be able to attack, then they could sacrifice themselves, or if they're not going to be able to be sufficiently shielded, that could mean that the I guess they can no longer destroy the Altenstar Rangers because of that shadow field, so maybe that was a little bit of a bluff. Maybe it was just a bit of insurance. Maybe it was trying to prevent Zarathur's Flamers from attacking once because the Rangers will be able to threaten them, but I'm just extraordinarily curious to see how things are going to unwind here. But Rogue Trader to planet number 5. What are we going to be able to see? Both of our players, I believe, are going to be deciding where to send their warlords. That's 3 resources left for Zarathur. Maybe we have a Warp Storm or something along those lines. Gleeful Plague Beast is going to be able to deal plenty of damage. Then whatever Chaos units are left, so long as that Plague Beast can survive the attack, they'll end up living through this series of events. Maybe that shadow field is in part a deterrent from Warp Storm as well, but it's going to be hell to try to save these Dark Eldar units. But let's see it. What can our Dark Eldar player hope to do to survive against this opposition here? Note that there's going to be a Slith Mercenary, the Bloodied Reavers, and the Kabbalite Strike Force all showing up. Zarathur is not going to be able to stick around at that planet for long, but okay, so that's going to be Packmaster Kith going to planet number 4, so very bold move by Packmaster Kith. She must be very certain that she's going to be able to win that planet. I can't really think why Kith decided to make that move, but wow, I guess just bold move of the century that Zarathur is going to win command at planet number 1. That's 2 cards for Zarathur. Planet number 2 is going to be 1 card, 1 resource for Kith. Planet 3, 2 cards for Kith. Planet number 4 is going to be 1 resource, 1 card for Kith. That Rogue Trader's bonus is shut down, and maybe that's what Kith is trying to avoid. All, a bunch of resources filling our Chaos player's hand. But we'll see. I guess an Archon's Terror and a Warp Storm makes a bit more of a difference than just a Warp Storm or just an Archon's Terror. Planet number 5 is going to be 3 resources here for Kith, so maybe Kith is going to be able to drop in to play a Clavex War Leader. We see a copy of Raid discarded as shield, so it looks as though we are breaking into our combat round, and that's going to be 1 point of damage dealt out to each of these units, 2 points of damage dealt out to all the enemy units. So we're seeing a fair few shield cards come out here. That's going to be a Raid discarded to preserve the Altensar Rangers. It's going to be a copy of Superiority to make sure that only 1 point of damage is dealt to that Warlock Destructor, to that Warlock Destructor. And I believe that was a copy of Archon's Terror discarded just to ensure that Zarathur doesn't take any damage. So it looks as though that was maybe another copy of Raid discarded, and then a Pact of the Homunculi also discarded. So these Chaos units are certainly hurting, and that's going to be an Archon's Terror removing that Altensar Rangers. And this is going to be Zarathur's opportunity to attack first. So what exactly are we going to see? If it were okay, here we are. That's Archon's Terror on Zarathur's Flamers. I was going to say Zarathur's Flamers attack and then sacrifice, potentially clear the board of those Warlock Destructors, but an Archon's Terror quite handily removes that. But what does that mean? That means 3 resources, and therefore there's no Klavex War Leader to be found. That's another Archon's Terror. My God. That's going to be the Gleeful Plague Beast gone. Now Zarathur is going to have a hell of a time trying to overcome the opposition here. The moment that Zarathur ends up being, bloodied, knocked away from that planet, all of those lingering units are going to be so much less dangerous. And now all of a sudden those still 3/3 Warlock Destructors are looking pretty formidable. But maybe we'll have a bunch of, 2 shield icon cards in Zarathur's hand. Who knows? Looks as though Zarathur is going to push it. He's going to be a little bit risky. That's 2 points of damage on that Warlock Destructor. And now what are we going to see? That Warlock Destructor is going to potentially exhaust. What is it taking an attack at? Our different options here are all 1 hit point remaining. That Bloodied Reavers has the highest attack value. It's currently threatening for 5, but the instant that Zarathur is gone from that planet, it's going to drop back down to 2. Zarathur is bloodied, and that is looking really bad all of a sudden for our Dark Eldar players. So let's see, that's also going to be that other Warlock Destructor is going to be able to take a swing for a whopping 3. Is Zarathur going to be able to pull this one out or not? Things are looking incredibly grim, and it looks as though Zarathur has maybe overextended himself to the point where he is about to get colossally punished. But how are things going to break down? That Warlock Destructor can pick any of these targets. If it wasn't for that double Archon's Terror, this would not be even the smallest question in regard to whether or not Per would be able to win this match. But let us see. That Warlock Destructor still needs to pick a target. It could kill the now 2/2. It could kill the now 2/2 Slith Mercenary. Or it could kill the 2/2 Kabalite Strike Force that threatens Area Effect 1. And there we go. It's going to be gone. So that is going to be destroyed. Kabalite Strike Force is done. That's going to be the end of the combat round. And is our Zarathur player going to stay or not? Let us see. It's a 2/2 and, well, a 2/1 and a 2/1 up against a 3/1 and a 3/3. And we see a retreat, so that is going to be Zarathur running from that planet, and that's going to be a random card discard. So that is a Warp Storm gone, and now if we end up seeing Planum won by Zarathur, that'll still be the game, or Kith could start accruing Strongpoint type icons for herself. There we go. Very well played by Kith, I suppose. I thought that Kith going to Karrnath was a mistake, but apparently it was just a skin-of-your-teeth style value play, so definitely making me eat my own words there, so congratulations to Victor for pulling that planet out, and that's going to be Packmaster Kith killing off that rogue trader, and that's going to be Karrnath. Will we see a unit routed? The answer is no. Planum could move a unit. Eloith could do the card tutoring effect. Kith has got 2 very wounded Warlock Destructors in her HQ that are going to be showing up exhausted the following round. We see that Altensar Rangers redeposited at planet number 1. So Kith is going to have to spend 2 resources just to keep either of those pretty crusty, dangerously wounded Warlock Destructors in play, but we've got an HQ phase here. That's going to be the initiative token moving to Victor's hand, and that's 4 resources and 2 cards for each of our players. He does allow 1 Warlock Destructor to be destroyed. And the Nordic Championships are certainly heating up here, so what exactly are we going to see from both of our players? Packmaster Kith has got to block off her opponent from winning at planet number 1 by any and all means possible. Looks as though the only remaining way for Packmaster Kith to win this game is going to be through killing Zarathur, or alternatively through winning from blue Strongpoint icons, but our Chaos player could still win by green Strongpoint icons. So it's all going to come down to Planum. There's already 3 Dark Eldar units sitting at that planet. Zarathur does happen to have 4 units in his HQ that he could use to put some things into play. but it's going to be pretty dangerous for him to go there, just because there's so many nasty Dark Eldar options, and looks as though Kith is once again feeling pretty confident in her ability to block off the first planet, because that's going to be a Bloodied Reavers going down to planet number 2. That's going to be a Zarathur's Flamers put out at planet number 1. They are fantastic because they can attack for 2 and then be sacrificed for 2. They're not nearly as powerful now that Zarathur is bloodied. And of course, Zarathur himself is a liability. And holy mother of hell, is Zarathur a liability when you see a Bloodied Reavers played out opposite you. That's going to be a potentially 4 attack value swing. And lowly Bloodied Zarathur there is something along the lines of, gosh, I want to say like a 1-5? At least a 1-5, but maybe he's a 1-6. But God, you really can't take much punishment, and I think he's a 1-5. That's what my heart tells me. But that's an Incubus Warrior played by Zarathur out to Eloith, so I suppose he's just really hoping and praying for drawing maybe a more useful card. That's going to be 1 card, 1 resource if Zarathur wins that planet, but where's Zarathur going to go? Is Zarathur going to push the first planet? Is Zarathur going to risk it or not? We'll have to see how things break down. So, Kith, where could Kith go? Kith could go to planet number 1. Yeah, let's see. Kith is going to go to planet number 2, and Zarathur is going to go to planet number 2. So, I guess Zarathur, the planets are off screen, but if I recall correctly, and I don't, perhaps Zarathur also has 2 technology icons, but let's see it. I guess Zarathur's shown up at planet number 2. That Incubus Warrior is going to be able to take a swing of 3 at Zarathur. Zarathur does not have the initiative, and things are looking very, very bad for our Chaos player, especially considering that Gleeful Plague Beast is going to deal a point of damage to Zarathur in addition to all the Dark Eldar alternatives here. But let's see how exactly it's going to break down. So I guess planet number 1 is going to be 1 card, 1 resource to the right for Packmaster Kith. Planet number 2 is going to be 2 cards for Kith. We see a Zarathur's Flamer being discarded to deal, I believe, damage to the Bloodied Reavers there, and we see Shadowfield discarded, so that's going to be no points of damage to those at all. Planet number 3 is going to be 1 card, 1 resource for our Chaos player, and planet number 4 is going to be a massive 3 resources pulled in for Kith. And there we go. It looks like we're calling it there, so GG, very well played by both of our players, but congratulations to Victor Edstrøm for being able to win this one. Looks like Packmaster Kith ended up taking home the trophy after all. Zarathur gave it a valiant effort, but she was able to block him pretty much every possible opportunity and just create enough of an economic disparity that Zarathur ran out of steam. Zarathur got bloodied, and then there wasn't really anything that Per was going to be able to do, so congratulations to Packmaster Kith for winning this game, but, of course, thank you so much to Alexander Chimadon for providing me with this footage in the first place, and, of course, thank you for watching as well. So, as always, if you enjoyed this content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already, or if you are already subscribed, as ever, I always encourage you to share this content, as the more people there are exposed to Conquest, the more people may give the game a try, like what they experience, join our community, and of course, we all send the message to Fantasy Flight Games to continue to support for this fantastic product. If at any point you'd like to get in touch with me, I would encourage you to do so through Twitter or on Facebook, as now, more than ever, I'm constantly on the lookout for more players like Alexander to send me videos to commentate and put up on my channel, and of course, I would be absolutely honored were you to do so. It's way easier than you think it is. If at any point you feel so inclined to help support the Hive Tyrant, I would encourage you to visit my Patreon page, as each small donation, each small contribution, it could be $1 a month, all of it helps me to recover some of my file hosting and operating expenses and to keep bringing you videos like this one. So, thank you once again for watching, and as always, be sure to check back in again soon for ever more Conquest LCG content to come.